guys, welcome to a very special edition of the New Movie Thing show. Today we saw The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and I'm joined with the always amazing Joe Beretta and the beautiful Trisha Hirschberger.
Hi!
Who is also amazing, and I am also beautiful.
Okay,
Yep, that's
he said
true.
it, not me. And if you can't make it out to the theater to see this fantastic film this weekend, you already know how I felt about it. You can go to netflix.com/sourcefed and get a whole month of free streaming movies on the Netflix, and you can join us on Movie Club where we review movies on Netflix.
Come be part of the gang.
Yeah, by the way, I want you all to know that Joe and Trisha both have Lord of the Rings Hobbit themed mugs here,
This
and
is
mine is
the
Game
Hobbit
of Thrones.
Desolation of Smaug in particular.
All this means is
Special.
please send us more Lord of the Rings and Hobbit themed mugs. That's
Well,
all
this
we're
is Game of
asking.
Thrones, baby.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
not. That's why I'm saying that, because I would like to have a mug
Send us
that.
more.
Enough of the mugs, on to the movie!
Yeah,
On to
so,
the movie.
This is the sequel to The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and
Some would say just an extension, not so much a sequel, because
Yeah,
this is a very
exactly.
tiny book, broken up into 3 massive movies.
Yeah.
Yes, but did you hear why Peter Jackson did that?
To make 3 movies.
And to make way more money.
No. That's
Yes,
the critique.
yes.
That's the critique. But anyway, in a press interview, he had said that he didn't want Bilbo's story to feel less important than the Lord of the Rings Fellowship
Either
story.
did the studio.
And neither did
Well,
Peter
I agree
Jackson.
with that, though. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Bilbo.
Well, also,
Bilbo's story is very important.
It's very important to Peter Jackson that his wallet is fed. His wallet is very
You guys
hungry.
are
Because he
so
doesn't need
mean.
anymore.
You guys are so mean. I
No, I'm
love
not being
Bilbo's
mean.
story.
I think
Oh, it's great.
And
I'm not-
if he wants 3 movies, then Bilbo gets 3
I'm not
movies.
being mean. All I'm suggesting is that I'm going to guarantee there's a higher percentage that the reason why there's 3 films is for money alone.
I guarantee
I'm
it.
going to guarantee it. But anyway, so
I'm going to
this
choose to be optimistic.
so this movie doesn't matter. Money's good. We want money, right?
Smug
I
like
will give
money.
them all my money. I'm going to see it again tomorrow.
I'm definitely going to see it a couple more times. So Martin Freeman's back as Bilbo. We've got Ian McKellen back as Gandalf. And we've got some newcomers.
We got Stephen Fry.
Oh,
making
Stephen
an
Fry.
appearance.
Love
He's really
Stephen
good in
Fry.
it. Stephen Colbert makes a little...
Yeah, as a
Look.
cameo, see if you can pick him out.
Peter
I wanna
Jackson's
know.
cameos in there.
Peter Jackson's back, of course, yeah, in Bree, which is
If
great.
you blink, you'll miss him.
By the way, I loved that we were back in Bree for a bit. And by the way, I think before, okay, so there might be a section of this where we'll go into some spoilers, maybe. And if we do, we assure you we'll give you plenty of warning.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the top comment on the video will be skip this part because you guys are awesome and you like to let everybody else know. But we're going to try our best to make sure nobody
I'm
gets
just going to
spoiled.
straight up say it. There's going to be spoilers, so we're going to tell you how much we like the movie right off the bat and whether or
That's
not
a
you should
great
see
idea.
it. Okay.
Perfect.
Great
So
idea.
I'm sitting with 2 diehard. I'm a diehard fan, but I'm like, these are unabashed, like, forgive anything that ever happened diehard fans. So I'm going to say, from somebody who not grew up, but loved the Lord of the Rings, the 3 movies.
By the way, I won't forgive anything that ever happened. Like, if they decided to kill off Bilbo
I know,
for
I
some
know.
reason,
Okay,
They
so-
kill off Bilbo in
I-
the first 10 minutes of
I'd
the
be like,
unexpected
wait a
journey.
minute.
I was a
No.
massive fan of the 3. I loved them. My dad grew up with the books. He passed them on to me. I'm just as much as a lover as some of the others. But that being said, I didn't like the first Hobbit movie so
Unexpected
much.
Journey?
The Unexpected Journey. I wasn't on the review. I could tell you why I didn't like it so much. It wasn't horrible. I wasn't a huge fan. It didn't even come near the previous 3 films. But this one, that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great, and I suggest seeing it over and over again.
What's the score you give this one?
Scores
10.
right off the bat, I'd give it a 9.
Awesome.
9
Very
out of
cool.
10.
9 out of 10.
I would have given Unexpected Journey probably a 5.
Wow, that's harsh.
Wow, that hurts a little bit.
That does hurt.
But the thing with this one is, I'll give you a really quick thing.
Yep.
I absolutely think you should go see it, even if you're not really that big of a fan of the movies. If you haven't seen the first one, maybe don't see this because
No, you need
you're
to
gonna
watch
be lost.
Unexpected
Yeah,
You're gonna
Journey
be
or else
pretty
you'll be lost.
Yeah, I would say that this one definitely feels more organic and less, I don't know, the first one just seems like you're so overtaken by the fact that we're back in Middle Earth, and it's like Lord of the Rings, it was so long ago that Return of the King came out in theaters, and we've been dying for The Hobbit. It's so built up and we're ready for it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't disappoint, but it's like you're too distracted. You're very distracted by your being
The
back in Middle Earth.
expectation of Lord of the Rings, I think, hurt the Unexpected Journey quite a bit.
I agree, but which doesn't say, which isn't to say that I fully enjoyed Unexpected Journey,
Me too.
but I'm having a tough time trying to decide if I liked Desolation of Smaug better or not. I don't know yet.
Really?
I don't know yet
Okay.
because it was really, really,
Okay,
really,
so
really
give your
good.
score real quick so we can go on.
My score is also 9 out of 10.
And what did you give
because
the first one?
I think I did give that a 9 out of 10 also. Because they're not perfect movies. They're not. But they're damn near close. And it's just a lot of fucking fun, man.
Go.
Okay, my quickie review is that I thought it was awesome. Like Joe said, I'm a diehard fan, so it's kind of hard to make a movie like this for me with characters that I find so beloved and stories that I enjoy so much. I have quotes above my bed in my bedroom from this movie on the wall. I absolutely adored it. I loved it. I loved Unexpected Journey as well, and I love the book. So there are deviations in this from the book, which I'm sure we'll talk about in our spoiler section, but I don't think that any of them were contradicting the spirit of the book. So in that way, I thought they just added to it, and that's okay. I mean, it's a different medium, so things can be a little bit different. I thought all the actors did a great job. I enjoyed the action sequences. Some of the special effects were a little bit.
That's just Peter Jackson being
Yeah,
Peter
some
Jackson.
of the special effects were. I mean, they certainly weren't Harry Potter and
I'd
the
say,
Sorcerer's
though,
Stone bad,
No.
but
Let her
some
do
of
her
them are
story.
kind of.
Well, I just want to say really
Some
quick
of them
about
are
the
kinda
special
wavy.
effects, super fast. Anything in this movie was light years better than the plate throwing scene in the first movie.
Unexpected Journey.
going.
Oh, speaking of plate throwing. Oh, no, we'll get into that in spoilers.
Score, go, score it up.
Overall, I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. If I could give it a 9.5, I would. Very, very close to a 10 out of 10 for me. I think I gave Unexpected Journey a 10. I gave Unexpected Journey a 9 or a 10. I just think it does a very good job of capturing the spirit of the book. If I were to do it, I'd do it a little bit differently, but I'm not Peter Jackson, and he's hired for a reason.
all right.
Nine.
So-
Nine. From here on out, we're going to get into specifics about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want to be hampered about the fact that we're spoiling. So spoiler alerts from here on out.
Okay, so really quick, just actors. Let's go really quick through the actors. Evangeline Lilly.
She's
Yeah.
new. She
She
plays.
was great.
Tariel.
Tariel.
And she's a character that is completely
She's
fabricated.
a fan fiction character.
She is basically a Peter Jackson fan fiction character. She is completely fabricated specifically for the purpose of giving sort of like an essential.
There's a love triangle in this movie.
Very-
It is,
that
but
you
not only
wanna
for that
have-
purpose. In
You
The
definitely
Hobbit,
do.
the book, there is no female character
Exactly.
that's
You
a
wanna
strong
have a
female
female
character. There aren't
character.
any. And I mean, it was
Exactly.
written in the 30s, so that there's a reason that there wasn't really a
Right,
strong
because women
female
belonged in the
character.
kitchen in the 30s.
She is Liv Tyler's hotter, more badass replacement.
Yeah, well, I like Evangeline Lilly. Big fan of hers from Lost, but on
She's
Lost...
great in the action sequences.
But that's the thing, like on Lost, she was kind of like, every once in a while, it's like, ooh, not a great actress. But she
was great in
fucking
this.
rocked it in this movie. I thought she was
She
fantastic.
said Evangeline Lilly used to shoot archery as a kid. She went
Cool.
through a ton of training, and she's a huge Tolkien fan. And I know that when Peter Jackson called to offer her the role, she was like, or he called and was like, "Hey, I want you to play this role." She didn't audition or anything. She was like, "Oh my god, I love The Hobbit. Who would I be playing?" And he's like, "Well, you're not in the book." And she was like,
You're Bilbo. You're playing Bilbo.
Crazy.
The girl this time.
Martin Freeman just didn't cut it.
Yeah.
Next to Evangeline Lilly, we have Orlando Bloom reprising his
Who looks a
role.
little swollen.
Who is swollen is the best way to put it. He's got old man fat head now.
Yeah, he's getting old at it. You can tell.
But if you step away from that, I also thought he did great. He's a little angrier in this. He's got a little bit of that wood elf anger.
Well, and it's because
Yeah.
he's supposed to be younger, so you could say he's maybe a little bit
A little
less
bratty.
mature.
He was definitely
Yeah.
stung by a bee there in Mirkwood, though, and you
Yeah.
could tell for sure. But the same can be said about Christopher Lee in An Unexpected Journey. Dude looks like he's being controlled with puppetry. Like when
yeah, they're getting older.
And the
We love
elves,
'em, but-
the elves were all fantastic. Aiden
Yeah,
Turner, I love you.
who's the guy,
I'm gonna marry
Tariel?
you.
Tariel? Who's
Keely,
the-
what?
You mean dwarves? You said elves.
Oh, I
You mean
meant
dwarves.
dwarves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where I
Well,
was
the
going.
dwarves are fine. They're from we've already talked about them from the first one. I'm talking about new people this time around. The king of the elves, Tariel. Is that his name? No, that's the
No,
girl's
the
name.
king of the elves, the Elven King.
What's his name though? It's like
He doesn't have a name in the
Thanadil
book.
or something like that.
Yeah, in the movie, it's
Thranduil?
something that starts with a TH.
either way, he's great. He's a little stoic. He's kind of like
Well, he does
you
what
can
he
tell.
does.
Well, also he's more stubborn than the Rivendell elves. You can tell the
Well, the
Oh
Wood
yeah,
elves
they
are-
say that
yeah.
though. The Wood Elves are of a different kind.
He plays Orlando Bloom's father, and in real life, he is 2 years younger than Orlando Bloom.
Whoops.
Fun fact.
So and then we have Stephen Fry, who you mentioned, which is
Stephen
great.
Fry.
is the he's like kind of
He
the
plays
king
the
of
slimy
Lake
king
Town.
of Lake Town.
Yeah,
and then
we have
Oh,
the new
he's not the
Wormtongue
king
guy.
of Lake Town. He is master. He oversees the finances, but he's not the king.
We also have the new Wormtongue guy,
Yeah.
the unibrow
Who does
Mr. Bean
great.
character.
Yeah, that character was weird for me.
And then the
let's
guy
talk
that
about
plays Bard.
Bard's great. Bard is
Bard.
like the Aragorn of the story.
yeah,
it seems
for sure.
like.
He's really good.
Because he's the man. He's a family man. He cares about people. He helps the dwarves, and he's great.
They do a lot more character development with Bard in the film than they do in the book.
So fuck all this other stuff. Who cares about the actors and the real human
Cumber
people?
Dragon!
Let's talk about fucking Smaug, guys.
Great.
Yeah!
Smaug, whatever you want to say, tomato. I guess we could just have to call him Smaug.
Well, I always said Smaug to myself
So
in
did
my
I.
head when I read the books, but in the movies, it's
Smaug.
definitely
Everyone
Smaug.
calls him Smaug. So
I'm
whatever.
going with
We'll
Smaug.
go with
From
Smaug.
here
He was
on out.
great. The voice from Benedict Cumberbatch.
The voice and the motion capture. He did all the motion capture.
You can see his face in the dragon. It's really cool. It was great. He was.
Oh no, guys! Smaug is here!
Yuki, get out of here, Yuki!
Oh, Smaug the Stupendous.
So yeah,
I
Smaug
love
was
it.
great.
God, I love it.
What I liked about the Smaug moments in this film were not only just the voice, which was just booming and,
was
great and frightening. Every moment with Smaug, like it was tense.
Yeah.
It was good, tense action. I loved it. It was
Yeah,
good.
good motion capture too. It's all Benedict Cumberbatch actually doing motion capture.
Being a
work,
lizard.
just like Andy Serkis did for Gollum, which is great. You can see his face there,
it's
and his
so
voice. I don't even think they need to add any post processing to his voice
Yeah,
at all.
it just
but
sounds
it's
like
just
that.
so booming
you
and
know,
awesome,
he
and just
did-
I felt like wind was coming out of the screen when you heard it. And by the way, we saw it in 3D, which I found
3D IMAX.
completely more effective. I don't know. I mean, just you feel like you're in that treasure room.
It was cool.
I felt
You
like
know?
they did
Oh,
the 3D
yeah.
so well that I stopped realizing that I was watching a 3D
That's
movie
good
about
3D.
10 minutes in.
And that's kind of
That's
the
the
goal
only
of 3D,
way to do
I
it.
think.
Yeah.
That's where I want to see 3D go. To the point where people stop like
I think
'cause,
it's going there.
I saw Avengers in 3D and it did become distracting at one point because it
Yeah.
wasn't shot in 3D. It was all post 3D. And whenever you do post 3D, it looks like garbage.
3D versus fake 3D. Click
And-
here for the annotation on the video on that.
And that's the thing. And so when you watch Desolation of Smaug in 3D, you're just again, you're right. You completely forget about it. It's beautiful. Cumberbatch.
I was gonna say Cumberbatch also did the voice of the Necromancer.
Oh, really?
How you feel about that? Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's kind of like how John Rhys Davies did the voice. He was Gimli, and he did the voice of Treebeard in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you know who else was in this, which I was really glad they kept him?
Who?
Bayon.
Oh,
Oh,
Bayon!
Bayon.
Bayon was so cool.
Yeah. Well-
in the book, he makes so little sense, and you're like, really? But
yeah,
he's so
he does
cool.
make more sense in the film. I was so sad that they kind of shortened his part, but you have to.
He's
There's
coming
so
back.
much
He's
to
coming
get.
back for sure. They're just setting him
know,
up.
But I did appreciate the bees on Bilbo's face
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, they made an
Oh,
appearance. They
okay,
did it.
so-
yeah, they didn't
Right.
arrive 2 by 2. That was my problem with the Bayorn section.
That's okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No,
Because it's how smart Gandalf is that he worked that angle. That whole thing was left off.
So okay, let's get out of the actor world and get
Okay.
to favorite scenes. So anybody, Joe?
Okay, I'll
favorite
start
scenes?
off. I won't so much say scenes, but I'll say it'll be one of my favorite things about the movie itself, which lends itself to favorite scenes. I really liked the attention to detail of the set pieces, like they
Yeah.
did back in the old Lord of the Ring movies.
Yeah, there's
Lake
it's
Town.
So good.
I love how they made Lake Town
Yeah.
so much. The floating on the water.
Yeah.
It almost like an old school Dirty Venice.
Yeah.
It was so.
Doesn't it seem
good.
like there's less like CGI city stuff and more set work?
It feels
I
like
think
it.
I
right?
think they actually built a lake town for
That's
sure,
cool,
and
man.
like had the actors run around. And spend a
It's
lot
like
of time
Sweet Haven in the Popeye movie
Yeah,
with
and then-
Robin Williams. They built the actual Sweet Haven, and it's
I feel like the under the mines under the mountain were also amazing. I
Yeah.
loved that set. Even though that was
how sad it was all abandoned. Like
it
that.
was so beautiful, but it was
down there.
crisp looking. I loved it. It was really cool.
My favorite scene in the whole movie, and it will probably end up being the Smaug scene with Bilbo, but I just loved the spiders stuff.
Spiders were
so
good.
The spiders
much.
looked really
I loved
cool.
Bilbo getting his like moment to shine and like saving everybody with the ring, and it's just so perfect. And I just fucking love how, because I mean, and this was a problem people had with Lord of the Rings. In the Lord of the Rings, the animals all talk. The eagles.
The reason they
the
gave him a
wolves.
reason to talk
Yeah.
was
it
The
was
best
great.
fucking thing. I
Uh-huh.
commend you, Peter Jackson, because you hear the spiders going like, and they're making gross, disgusting sounds, and then Bilbo puts the ring on, and then he's in the ring world, basically.
Then
and then you can hear the
understand
spiders.
evil!
So fucking cool. And the spiders are from Mirkwood or from Dol Guldur.
Yeah. Where all the evils assembling.
Yeah, so it makes perfect sense that they kind of speak the dark tongue. Perfect.
And what they did with that, which was great, was in the old ones with Shelob.
Yeah.
She was a tarantula and was gross in her own way. These things are like this combination of wolf spiders and black widows. They are so
They're
effectively
super
creepy.
And I just love how realistic it is too, because when Bilbo stabs them and then their hands all curl into each other. Oh, it's so cool!
Good.
Great job, guys, on that stuff. Effectively creepy and awesome at the same time.
When I was watching the film, I was looking and waiting for the iconic moments from the story. Yeah. So for me, it was naming the sword sting.
So good.
That was amazing. Yep. That was such a when it happened. That, and I wish that they had done it a little bit better in the movie. But the other iconic moment I was mentioning to you guys earlier is that from Underhill, Barrel Rider, that whole riddle. I felt like that wasn't as magnanimous as it was in the book. But it was still, I mean, that's such an identifying moment for Bilbo. That, and I also loved, we were talking about this earlier too, I also loved when you see Martin Freeman in the spider scene. You have that moment where he loses the ring and he gets it back, and he has that moment where he's like, it's mine. And you could just see
the
Ian
poison
Holmes in
entering
his
his
face.
body.
You can just see that freak out from Lord of the Rings, and
Okay.
I loved it.
I want to say, we got to talk about one more scene before we move on.
Go ahead.
The barrel scene.
We have to talk about the barrel.
A lot of people are coming out and saying the barrel scene is too long. I appreciated the barrel scene a lot. It had some of the best action in the flick.
I gotta be honest,
Well, and
in
the barrel
book-
scene is not
in
an
the
action
book,
scene.
It's kind of just boring. It's like, it's a beautiful little, like, calm little
No,
river
it's not
ride.
calm, but they have the lids on the barrels, and then, they all get out, and they're all cramped
In
and
the book,
bruised
nothing
and stuff.
happens. In the movie, they add
It's a huge thing.
15-minute action sequence. You get to see Orlando Bloom go off more than it's what you've always wanted to see him do. You get to see Evangeline Lilly do the same thing. It's
Yep.
And you see the dwarves kicking
you see the
ass,
dwarves
too.
kicking ass. This is
They're all
Yeah.
throwing knives to each other and stuff, and like
And
two
I
in a row.
appreciated that, because dwarves traditionally are good warriors.
Yeah.
It's the silliest part of the movie, but now stick with me here. It's also one of the coolest, and the reason I didn't like the first one so much is that it was too silly. They did go a little bit to the, I feel like, the kid angle in the first one. This movie beautifully took hardcore dark violence and mixed it with just like a smattering
Some silly
of
stuff.
the silly stuff, and that's exactly what this river ride that will someday be like a Disney park ride.
I want it!
That would be amazing.
It was perfect. It was this perfect blend of action and violence and silliness that I think encapsulates what the tone of all of the movies should be, these Hobbit movies, which I think the first one missed out on, but this second one nailed perfectly.
I
Well-
agree 100% the best action scene in the movie. For sure.
In this movie, yeah. And so, I mean, speaking of the silliness, that was a big critique of The Unexpected Journey, was having
actually-
the song in there. But in the book, there are more songs throughout. Like, there's a whole song that Bilbo sings when he's dealing with the spiders that was completely left out
There's
of the movie.
songs all over
There's
Lord of the
songs all
Rings,
over-
too.
Well,
Yeah.
but I feel like they were perhaps left out of this film, maybe as a response to the critique and backlash from Unexpected Journey.
Or for pacing. I mean, more than anything. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
Okay, so really, really quick. I'm talking super fast, 2 sentences. Least favorite moments in the movie.
My least favorite moments of the movie. I don't have a lot of gripes. I was telling you guys, the effects are great. One of my biggest pet peeves is that with the 2 main orcs that have become antagonists for a lot of the characters in the movie, Azog, I think is his name, and then Balg.
Yeah, the 2
these
orcs,
2 orcs are mainstay characters in the films now, and I hate that they're CG. They take me out of it. Like, they're cool-ish looking, but they look like cartoons, and they're the only cartoon-looking parts of the movie. And they're leading these orc armies, and these orc armies during these action sequences are practical effects, and they look
When
so
you have
awesome.
the guy that gets the blood.
It's funny because
They look so good.
I haven't heard a good reason for it. That's
There's
the other
none.
thing. There's
There's
no
zero.
good reason for it. If they want to make him a more menacing orc, just use the forced perspective shit you're using on everybody else. You know, like
I don't even think that
it
matters.
really doesn't make any sense.
It takes me out of the movie more than anything else.
Okay, I'll give you that. My least favorite thing in the whole movie, and we talked about this in the car, was that there was that one moment for like the little kids, or maybe like the people who don't really care about Lord of the Rings that much, where Legolas is like, "Who is this in your locket here? Is that your brother?" And then Glowin says, that's my wife. And it's a funny moment because the
'Cause
wives look
dwarf
like dudes.
women's
And
look
then
like- yeah.
they're like, and who's this little kid here? And he goes, that's my son, Gimli.
You hated that?
I disagree with him 100% on
I
this
thought
point.
it was a
I
good
just-
tie-in
I
for
think-
the movie fans that aren't book fans.
First of all-
if we're gonna force some people into this movie,
Yeah.
like for most
For
of
a
the
lot
movie
of
and
the
make them a
film.
big part of the film, I think it's okay to put a little Easter egg nugget and say Gimli.
It's just a little too on the nose for me. It's like,
more on the nose than forcing somebody into
hold on a
the
second.
movie.
Hold on a second, though. If you've already got that and you're forcing more into it, it's too much. I think
So-
it's like you might as well whenever
I think you're
you
showing
might
some
as well.
Gimli hate.
You know what? No, I love
Don't hate on
Gimli.
Gimli.
I love Gimli. It has nothing to do with that. I think they might as well show. You know the one who's got the slingshot, the one who's like, oh, I'm kind of like he's a little effeminate. You know that guy? They might as well just cut to the scene in the Fellowship of the Ring when they're all in Balin's tomb, by the way, which Balin is one of the dwarves as well, and say that's
love Balin.
that's that guy's dead body right there, and he's the one that's gonna die later, and that's Balin's dead body too.
You are making a connection that makes no sense.
No, I'm just saying that if they want to connect these movies so badly and so like effortlessly to the Lord of the Rings movies, why push so many forced moments like that?
That was one. You're talking about one line.
I just
The
one
whole
line.
movie.
One
Yeah, that's the
line.
only. And by the way, I gave the movie a 9 out of 10. I loved it. That's the only thing I had a problem with.
Okay, so I would say my issue is twofold, and it's storyline things. I hate that we left out Bilbo in the tunnel before the first time he meets Smaug, because it's such an amazing moment in the book. And I mean, there's really no way to do it. Inner monologue is always so much. You can do it so much better in a book than you can in a film. So he kind of has that conversation with Balin that I feel like is the movie trying to do that moment. But anyway,
Which was great.
It was great. I appreciate that they tried, but it just wasn't quite there for me. And I hate that they leave 4 of the dwarves in Lake Town when they go to the Lonely Mountain.
I'm okay with it.
I hate that.
That's
I
a result
absolutely
of
hate it.
other things that were forced in the movie. Not forced, but included, like the.
But they could have still included the love story and not left the 4 dudes in Lake Town. I mean,
with
but
all-
that gives you the Legolas. I know. Yeah.
Also, it makes it a lot easier to do a mine action scene with a bunch of dwarves against a dragon to only have to animate 7 dwarves as opposed to 11.
That's the biggest reason there. And by the way, before we wrap this up, we have to talk about probably one of the biggest changes in this movie from the book to the movie. Something that I would say is even bigger than forcing in a brand new character or Legolas back in, which
Legolas
is
could be in the world.
right.
He would have been there.
Even so, let's say bigger than even Evangeline Lilly in the movie, creating a character is the inclusion of the knowledge of and then the actual visuals of Sauron.
Basically, the embodiment birth of Sauron.
yeah,
in this
well,
movie.
the book alludes to it.
They allude to the
you-
necromancer. The
Well, they allude
necromancer
to the
is-
necromancer, and there's a lot of things throughout that you can connect that the necromancer is Sauron.
Well, because in the book, it's the necromancer is kind of like the bad guy that Gandalf is kind of fighting off on his own in The Hobbit. And when J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, there was no Lord of the Rings, there was no Sauron, there was no magical ring. In fact, I think he changed some things when Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
when he
they
was
did.
there's
writing Lord of the
another
Rings.
edition of The
So
Hobbit.
they did have this character called the necromancer that is kind of like this spooky guy or whatever. So they kind of made the necromancer Sauron in a sense, or like they kind of made them both one and the same in some way.
No, I mean, and I think I'm trying to remember if that's in one of the random appendices somewhere
Like
that they
Silmarillion
tie
or
that
something?
together. But it is somewhere in the literature that the necromancer.
I mean, you know the
Sauron are tied.
necromancer-
That wasn't
yeah,
invented
you-
for this. That you
Anyways,
you do know
it's
that
in this film.
Yeah.
There's this moment with Gandalf, basically in the Dark Tower, whatever.
yeah.
And when he talks about
Dol
the ring
Dol
race
Dur.
being released and everything.
we see the visual birth of Smaug from somebody that
Of
is
Sauron.
of Sauron, of someone that was not able
It was
to
basically like smoke.
he was just smoke. He wasn't able to.
It was
form
Voldemort
yet.
before he was
Yes.
Voldemort.
How
And
dare
then-
you bring that into this?
And then we see the birth of the eye, and I thought if you're gonna add some things, I'm a purist too. I don't like it when they add a bunch of things, and they did in this movie. I had a problem with very little of it, and I loved it. I loved seeing Sauron be
That's
birthed.
what I mean. The additions were not contradictory to the original story,
But
so I didn't hate them.
But it can't be. It has to be said that that's probably the most controversial difference from the movies. Again, I loved it. I didn't have a problem with it, just like Joe
It
did.
connects to the Lord of the Ring flicks.
It's perfect.
Oh, it's so
if
good.
we want to separate, we're going to have to at this point say the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings books are their own version of the Middle Earth story, and the movies are their own version of the Middle
They
Earth
are now,
story.
for sure.
At this point, we have to accept it, and I'm okay with it. Peter Jackson basically wrote a love letter to those amazing books and had the blessings from the Tolkien estate to do kind of what he wanted with it and made sure people were okay with it, and what we have are amazing films as a result of it. So I'm okay. Do what you want.
That are
dude.
building on that same beloved universe.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. Wow, that was scary. The ghosts here don't like Elliot Morgan.
Steve clapped really loud and something fell off the wall on the other side of the room.
Well, thank you guys so very much for watching our special Table Talk-ish edition of the new movie thing show. If you want to watch movies on Netflix instead of going to the theater, you can go to netflix.com/sourcefed and get a whole month of streaming movies and join us on Movie Club. I'm Steve Zaragoza.
I'm Joe Beretta.
I'm Trisha Hirschberger.
And we'll see you at the movie.
No, that's not.
I
ours.
can't say that.
Oh. You can't. Can you come up with a different one?
I will see, but
So you're gonna see it? I'm gonna try seeing an HFR maybe.
I want to see it in HFR. So far, I've seen it 3D and 3D IMAX, but not HFR.
I might see it HFR.
I heard the HFR is a little much, though, because, like, you know how immersive the 3D IMAX was because of some of the sweeping shots? I heard the HFR is a little